Hello everyone, this is Scout LeBaron with Quantum Revolution Counseling. Today I want to introduce a short clip taken during a discussion group on chapter 26 from the book New Eyes, A Unifying Vision of Science and Spirituality, where Steve Treu, aka Quantum Steve, aka TJ, discusses a couple excerpts from the Bhagavad Gita. The clip begins with Steve describing the three gunas outlined in the Bhagavad Gita. These are the three energies or forces that exist in the universe along the path of spiritual development. As with any great spiritual text, it's left open to interpretation so that we can find the meaning that's helpful on our own unique spiritual path. Hopefully, you'll find this clip and this interpretation helpful on your path.
So we have lucidity, passion, and dark inertia. These were the three different types of energy, if you will. These two are specifically ego energy. And for understanding purposes, simply speaking, dark inertia is otherwise bad energy. But it's bad physical energy, if you will. I'm doing air quotes because it's not really bad, but it is the stuff that leads to all the pain and the suffering of the physical world. Passion is what Krishna called good energy. Same sort of thing. It's what makes you feel good in the physical world, but it's still physical world focus. This is when you are a bad parent. This is when you're a good parent. This is when you're a bad child. This is when you're a good child. This is when you lose the Super Bowl. This is when you win the Super Bowl. Okay? And we go on with that. This is the yin and yang of the physical world. Krishna says they're both physical world. And you will not escape this place until you learn what lucidity is. This passion and dark inertia are when you look at yourself as a flesh being, which is what ego is, and lucidity is when you look at yourself as a soul being, which is what spirit is. And so, in the Gita, the joy of lucidity at first seems like poison, but in its end is like ambrosia, from the calm of self-understanding. Now, it first seems like poison when you get lucid, because you see the world correctly, but it's completely different than the way you were seeing the world, and that can be fairly painful. Jesus actually calls it disturbing. When you see the world with lucidity, you're like, oh my, all this stuff that I was working for in the flesh, it's not what I think it was. All these people that I've loved, not what I think they are. I'm now seeing the world correctly, and Krishna says at first it seems like poison, because that's pretty difficult to take. But in the end, it's like ambrosia, which I think I looked up as like a sweet-smelling flower or something like that. Okay, whatever. All I know is it's yummy. And he says in the end, it's like ambrosia, which is from the calm of self-understanding. Now that you know what the world is, and you stick with it for a while, it actually ends up feeling pretty good. The joy that is passion at first seems like ambrosia, but in the end, it is like poison. So the joy that is passion, hey, it feels great when you win that Super Bowl. Read chapter 11, in which I talk about Tom Brady talking about this kind of stuff, when he says winning all the Super Bowls aren't what it's cracked up to be. The fact is, at first, Krishna says, passion seems like ambrosia, but in the end, it's like poison. Why? I don't care how good you have it, eventually you're going to have to give it up. It will be taken from you. You win this year's Super Bowl, now next year you got to win it in order to feel good. It's also drug use. You use today, you feel good. Guess what? Got to use tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. Otherwise, you'll never feel good. So you're going to have to learn how to give that up. It's eventually a doomed proposition. It's not going to feel very good. The joy arising from sleep, laziness, and negligence, self-deluded from the beginning till the end, is said to be darkly inert, which is to say all the bad stuff. It might feel good to be passionate, and by the end it feels like poison. But for sure, darkly inert, that's when we're low-level ego energy, and he uses all these nasty words. Lazy, negligent, self-delusion, all that kind of stuff. And everybody recognizes that's not a good place to be. The trick is to realize that passion is actually not a good place to be either. You have to learn how to get through that too. And last one for now. The Lord resides in the heart of all creatures, making them real magically, as if a machine moved them. Now this is Krishna in the Gita thousands of years ago, using words like machines. That's interesting. And making them real magically. What does that sound like? Movie reels, right? We have way back here in the projector group, we talked about how the world's like a projector. It's all like a machine. The Lord resides in the heart of all creatures. What is the Lord? It's the higher self, right? It's the Christ. It's the Krishna. It's the Buddha. It's the Muhammad. It's all of them. It's inside each of us. In the Kabbalah, which we're doing in a couple weeks, it's called Israel, and it's inside each one of us. Krishna says the Lord resides in the heart of all creatures, making them real magically, because we are robotic. We're just going with the flow of the Spirit that's in us. And it's seemingly magical, as if a machine moved them. When Jesus says stuff like, forgive them, they know not what they do, it's because people are like robots moving around. What you are is the Spirit that's inside you, and your job is to expand that Spirit. Do you act differently when your spirit is expanded? What happens when you expand the ego inside of you? Do you act different? Expand the dark inertia inside of you. Are you more likely to be healthy or unhealthy? Now expand it to passion, and you work on physical world stuff. You might be physically fitter, still not lucid yet, but if you expand the lucidity inside of you, next thing you know, you're coming to groups like this, talking about this kind of stuff. And now you're more patient in traffic. And now you're more forgiving of the guy that stole your big screen TV. Or you're more understanding of the world's chaos, or whatever the case may be. You go be spirit, but you stay connected to God, you got it. All of it, however, is machinery. We're just robotically going through this world. And if you don't like the way your machine's operating, shift the energy, shift the fuel inside of it, and all of a sudden the behaviors will change. There's the ultimate point there. So that's the Gita.